Imagine before you a stone colossus, now shattered, but which once dominated the horizon. This is no mere pile of ruins, it is the memory of a civilization that defied the sea, the sand, and even its own destiny. Have you ever wondered how a city, so powerful as to build temples that not even time could completely erase, could disappear almost suddenly from history? Today I will take you on a journey into the heart of Selinunte, the westernmost Greek outpost in Sicily, a golden metropolis that dared too much and paid the highest price. We will discover its immense glory, the deadly rivalry that led to its ruin, and the silence that reigns among its dunes today, a silence that hides stories of limitless ambition. Selinunte was no ordinary city, it was a bold dream, forged by Greek colonists, projected toward nothingness, or rather toward infinity. Imagine standing here centuries ago and seeing this city grow lush like a stone flower in the wild heart of Sicily. It was the westernmost Greek outpost, the last bastion of Hellenic civilization before Carthaginian domination. Its position was not accidental, it was a challenge, overlooking the African blue, with its gaze turned south towards a mysterious continent full of opportunities but also dangers. This city not only challenged the horizon with its grandeur, but seemed to want to bend the sea itself to its will, building a prosperous port and navigable canals that connected it to the heart of Sicily. It was a gem nestled between the green hills and the cobalt blue of the Mediterranean, a place where the wind carried the scents of earth and salt, and where every dawn promised a new day of trade, art, and life. Its majestic presence was not just a geographical fact, but a declaration of intent, a cry of grandeur that resounded across the waves. The true beating heart of Selinunte, its calling card to the ancient world, was undoubtedly the Acropolis. Imagine a towering hill, a natural fortress jutting boldly out into the sea like the prow of a ship cutting through the waves. From here, the view was nothing short of breathtaking. The eye spanned the infinite blue of the Mediterranean, a sea that was not only a trade route but also a border, the threshold between two worlds. And on this strip of land, in an embrace of light and wind, the temples arose, not simple buildings, but stone giants, columns that seemed to touch the sky, dedicated to the gods who protected the city. Today, these colossi lie on the ground, stretched out like ancient warriors tired after a thousand-year battle. Their ruins, scattered and imposing, tell more than a thousand words. They are not fallen boulders, they are fragments of a dream, silent witnesses of a splendor that once defied the sun. Every block of stone, every toppled column drum is a piece of history, a scar that tells of glory, of fall, and of the implacable force of time and events. They really do look like tired stone giants who have let themselves fall, but who even in their defeat maintain a touching dignity and beauty. Those temples, erected with unparalleled magnificence, were much more than simple places of worship. They were the tangible representation of Selinunte's unbridled ambition, a symbol of its wealth and its faith in an unlimited future. Every single column, every carved frieze spoke of the power of a city that knew no limits to its audacity. Among all, Temple E, dedicated to Hera, stands out for its majesty and its complex reconstruction history. Although it is the result of an anastelosis, that is, a modern reconstruction of the ruins using the original material, its grandeur is undeniable. Its colossal dimensions, with its with its massive cella and the peristasis of Doric columns, make it an architectural masterpiece and an eloquent symbol of the greatness of Selinunte. It was not just a religious building, it was a statement, a monument to man's ability to shape nature to surpass his own expectations. Imagine the Herculean effort required to transport and raise stone blocks of that size without the technologies we have today. It was an undertaking that required not only advanced engineering for the time, but also an unshakable faith in one's own destiny, an almost blind faith in one's own invincibility. The architecture of Selinunte was a bridge between the divine and the earthly, an expression of profound religiosity, but also of political and economic power. It was a message carved in stone, an affirmation of who the Selinuntines were, an ambitious, prosperous people who believed they could touch the sky with a finger. And it is precisely in this magnificence, in this architectural opulence, that we find the sign of a city without limits to its ambition. A city that fused faith and power, defying not only time, but also perhaps the will of the gods. Temple E, in particular, with its restored columns rising once again towards the sky, is a silent and powerful reminder of what Selinunte was and what it has lost. But the history of Selinunte, as often happens with great civilizations, is not only made of splendor. His rise was marked by a deadly rivalry, a lingering shadow that would eventually obscure all light. For decades, if not centuries, Selinunte was engaged in an almost perpetual conflict with nearby Segesta, a city of Elimian origin but strongly Hellenized, which felt its existence threatened by the Selinuntine expansion. This wasn't just a border dispute, it was an existential struggle for control of the territory, of trade routes, for supremacy over that portion of Sicily. The two cities, neighbors but bitter enemies, fought over everything, from the fertile hinterland to access to the ports. Their history is filled with clashes and power struggles, shifting alliances and bloody betrayals. Selinunte, with its wealth and military power, often prevailed, but Segesta never completely bowed down, nursing resentment and waiting for the right moment to take revenge. This spiral of rivalries and expansionist ambitions led to nothing good. Eventually, Segesta, exhausted and unable to resist alone, made the fatal mistake of asking for help, not to the Greeks of Syracuse nor to other Sicilian cities, but to a far more fearsome and ruthless enemy, the Carthaginians. The arrival of the Carthaginians in Sicily, called by Segesta, was the turning point, the harbinger of the end. In 409 BC, under the command of General Hannibal Mago, a Carthaginian fleet of terrifying size, with an army estimated between 100,000 and 120,000 men, landed in Sicily. The primary objective was Selinunte. The city, though powerful and well fortified, was not ready to face such an invading force. The Selinuntines had underestimated the threat, perhaps deluded by their own superiority and the long series of victories against Segesta. What happened was a massacre. The Carthaginian siege, brutal and relentless, lasted an incredibly short time, just 9 days. In less than 2 weeks, the golden metropolis, the city that had dared to defy the gods with its colossal temples and its boundless pride, was razed to the ground. The walls fell, the defenses gave way, and the Carthaginian army poured into the streets, wreaking havoc and death. Historical sources speak of indiscriminate massacres, of men, women, and children killed or enslaved. The temples, symbols of Selinunte's greatness, were sacked and then destroyed, their columns knocked down, their statues violated. The end of Selinunte was swift and definitive. From a golden metropolis, a center of trade and culture, it was transformed into a desert of smoking ruins, a terrifying warning to all the other Greek cities of Sicily. This event marked not only the end of Selinunte, but the beginning of a phase of decline for the Greek presence on the island, paving the way for Carthaginian dominance. The dream of a city without limits was shattered in 9 days of horror, leaving behind only rubble and the bitter memory of an ambition too great, which had ignored the dangers until it was overwhelmed by them. Today the wind blows gently across the sand dunes surrounding Selinunte, carrying with it the salty scent of the sea. A deep, almost sacred silence reigns among the ruins, a silence that both hides and reveals the stories of a city that knew no limits to its ambition. It's not an empty silence, it's a pause, a deep breath of history, a deafening echo of what was. As you walk among these majestic remains, you can almost hear the whisper of the wind among the broken columns, an ancient lament that tells of past glories and a sudden fall. The fortifications, once impregnable, today show their wounds, the signs of the final battle, the breaches that allowed the conquerors to enter. The walls, which for centuries had protected the life and prosperity of the Selenuntines, are now silent witnesses to their tragic fate. And then there are the temples, especially the magnificent Temple E, which rises again at least in part towards the sky. Its partial reconstruction allows us to imagine the original grandeur, to perceive the power and elegance that emanated from these structures. Walking through its cell, touching its restored columns, is like taking a step back in time, an experience that transcends a simple visit to an archaeological site. It's not just stone, it's memory, it's energy, it's the ghost of a glorious era. Selinunte is today an open-air labyrinth of history, an archaeological park that extends for kilometers along the coast, offering breathtaking views and unique attractions. It is a place where visitors are invited to immerse themselves in the past, to experience firsthand the glory and fall of Greece and Sicily. It's not a static museum, it's a story that unfolds beneath your feet, a sensory and intellectual experience. It is a monument to human greatness, to its capacity to create beauty and complexity, to pursue bold ambitions. But it is also a powerful warning against arrogance, against the illusion of invincibility. The history of Selinunte is an eternal cycle of rise and fall. And a reminder that every empire, every city, however powerful it may seem, is fragile and subject to the forces of time, politics, and fate. The ruins of Selinunte, with their silent eloquence, remind us that the past is never truly past, but continues to speak, to teach, to inspire. Are you ready to discover more secrets that history has hidden? So, don't miss our next journey through the wonders of the ancient world.